Recently, Dave Ramsey made some very pointed statements about the concept of a stimulus check and about the people who might need a stimulus check. In fact, this is what he said. I don't believe in a stimulus check because if $600 or $1,400 changes your life, you are pretty much screwed anyway. You have a career problem. You have a debt problem. You have a relationship problem. You have a mental health problem. Something else is going on if $600 changes your life. The point is that you're looking to the government to fix your life, and as long as you wait on Washington, D.C. to fix your life, you're gonna suck. Your life is gonna suck. And that's not poor shaming, that's shaming stupidity. Is Dave right? Is he being a jerk? What if a stimulus check really is life-changing for you? What should you do with it? Let's talk about it. Hey, I'm Brendan, and every week you're subscribed here, you'll get a new video on personal finance or the productive use of your time or money. Dave Ramsey has been a radio personality for decades and has now built a business around financially helping people out, giving them advice, walking them through the baby steps, and helping the average American get out of debt and start to build wealth. He's grown what was a modest business and a book or two into a complete empire. Wikipedia estimates his 2021 net worth at $475 million. I've personally been aware of Dave Ramsey for years, all the way dating back to like my college time, and in the last year I've read 3 of his books: The Total Money Makeover, Financial Peace Revisited, and one by his co-host on some of the radio shows, Chris Hogan, which is called Everyday Millionaires. So I'm familiar with Dave. And for basic financial direction, I really think that Dave's advice has helped me more than it's hurt me. When you're young and dumb and short-sighted and you don't think that maybe debt is so bad, or you think that you're justified in spending thousands of dollars on a cool car or a sim racing video game rig or something like that, it's kind of nice to have a voice of wisdom saying, hold on there, maybe that's not the best idea. And a voice like that can kind of help you to slow down, think about things in a more long-term sense, and hopefully establish more of a financial footing. As it stands today, he gives a lot of people financial advice, and he probably helps them more than he hurts them too. However, his recent claims around stimulus checks are rustling a lot of people's feathers. So let's break this down. Is Dave right? Well, yeah, sort of. Is he being a jerk? Yeah, definitely. A new survey from Bankrate.com says that only 39% of Americans can pay for an unexpected expense of $1,000 or more from savings. And their data has shown that this statistic over time has remained pretty much constant all the way from 2014 till now. Those numbers tell us that people just have a really hard time saving and keeping a rainy day fund. And that is pretty bleak. I mean, Dave's right to say that that's a pretty bleak situation to be in. In my life, virtually anything substantial that needs repair on the house that we live in, $1,000. Virtually any medical bill, at least $1,000. And on average, an insurance deductible in America is between $4,000 and $8,000, so that completely blows this $1,000 figure out of the water. For the average American, getting a stimulus check really could be enough of a buffer to make a difference between being able to pay for something comfortably that's unexpected and not being able to at all and getting forced back into high interest debt. It really is tough to save up for that rainy day fund. So the fact that the government could just literally send you an emergency fund in the form of a stimulus check is kind of amazing. Without one, we are on extremely unstable footing. We have to have an emergency fund. Otherwise, we're leaning back on credit cards, payday loans, other kind of personal loans, and those things are really detrimental to your financial health. You are 100% guaranteed to pay more in the long run for that same expense whenever you've got to make somebody else rich by borrowing money from them than if you just had that cash on hand and you could write the check, so to speak, and just pay for the expense out of pocket. I don't think Dave communicating in this way is in any way overstating the problem, because the problem is real. I think the problem is shaming people and calling them stupid for having the problem in the first place. I don't know about you, but someone calling me stupid doesn't exactly motivate me to follow their advice or to take them seriously. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's difficult to get over that insult and even hear what they're saying after they say something like that. And let's point out a little bit of potential hypocrisy here, because Dave himself has said that doing his first baby step 1, to save $1,000 in cash in the bank for an emergency fund can be life-changing. So somehow having a check sent to you for an emergency fund is bad, but then having an emergency fund is good. Plus, if the news outlets are true and we are getting another stimulus check, and even if you had to spend or decided to spend the first round of stimulus checks, now you've got another chance. This basically moves most Americans right into baby step 1, through baby step 1, and into baby step 2. And I agree with the underlying message he's getting at here, which is a lack of accountability is completely toxic to your financial health. In as many ways as possible, we need to take ownership for our own finances. Waiting on and depending on and heavily leaning on any government or any outside force to do that is probably not the best idea, but the fact of the matter is that attacking people and telling them they're stupid for needing it isn't the best idea either. And maybe somebody like Dave or someone in his similar situation can see all this kind of from a higher perspective, and vision is 2020. He's been bankrupt. He's figured out how to be successful, built this business. He now literally coaches people on what to do with their money every day. He lives in a 13,000 square foot house that used to be next door neighbors to Leanne Rimes. And overall, he's probably pretty sick and tired of answering people's basic questions and also hearing some pretty bad excuses for why they can't take control of their own money. That kind of makes sense. But let's ask what actually helps people. I think meeting people where they are with empathy, recognizing that we've all made mistakes, we all could be in a better situation than we're in, but focusing on what we can do and focusing on what moves us forward actually helps the most. And that in general is why I make videos. It's fun for one thing, but the fact that I have an opportunity to potentially help you take just one step in the right direction towards financial freedom or financial security is amazing. What if a stimulus check really does feel life-changing to you? What should you do? How do we approach this? Despite everything else Dave said in that interview, he also said this: I've been broke and I've never even then thought $600 was going to change my life back when $600 was a lot of money. Would $600 help? Yeah, if you hand it to me, I'll take it. Of course, Dave makes way too much money to potentially get any kind of stimulus check, so that's off the table. But even Dave would take the money. So we're going to take the money and we're going to use it as wisely as possible. First off, when you get the check, don't beat yourself up for past mistakes because the past is done. There's nothing we can do about it. So now you've got it. Let's think about the present and the future. If in the past you would have made a different decision with this money, like buy cool stuff or go out to eat and get some awesome food and drink, resist the urge now. Decide before you get anything else that this is not the way to spend this money, that spending the money isn't the way to use this money, and that there are better uses out there. So we're going to turn a little bit of a corner here. If you can, instead think about paying off high interest debt like credit cards, personal loans, things like that. These things are costing you a ton of money, and in financial terms, that's an emergency. Put out the fire. The next thing worth considering is saving that cash. Like we've talked about, an emergency fund is really important. If you don't already have one, then set up a separate account to keep this money there. Now, I know that might sound silly to go, look, the money is there whether or not it's in this account or that account, whether or not it's mixed in with other money or not. Trust me on this. It really does somehow help to say that dedicated account is for emergency fund money. This account over here is what I spend out of or what other things happen with, but that one over there we don't touch unless the you-know-what hits the fan. The easiest way is probably just to open another account with the current bank that you're at. Open a savings account. If they have something like a high-yield savings account, that's even better because you'll get paid a little bit of interest, and set that money aside. Nowadays, you can't expect very much when it comes to these high-yield savings accounts because interest rates are so low across the board, you'll be earning like pennies. But that's fine. You're not losing the money, you're not spending it, so you have it there when you need it. But I've also been experimenting with these new kinds of savings accounts called prize-linked savings accounts, and this is old news for people like in the UK, or if you've heard of it before, yeah, it's a thing, it's been around. But for me, it's pretty new, and for most Americans, we haven't really heard of this thing before. The long and the short of it is that it's a normal savings account, but it's also linked up to a sweepstakes. So one of them that I've been using a lot is called Yada Savings. They have your money held safely in an FDIC insured savings account through Evolve Bank. They pay you a base interest rate, which is great, and then you get entered into a weekly drawing, which is a lot like a lottery. But the best thing is that you can't lose money. There is no losing money in this like you do with playing the lottery, because you got to buy those tickets, realize you lost, and then buy yourself a cheeseburger and a milkshake to feel better because you know you lost. There's no losing money with Yada, which is amazing. So your money stays there, gets a base interest rate, and then you might earn some prizes on top of it. It's a lot of fun. I've been using two of them, Yada Savings and Prize Pool. That's an option for you if you want something that's a little bit more entertaining and that actually incentivizes you to keep the money and not spend it. Because I don't know how it'll work for you, but for me so far, I've really not wanted to withdraw any money from either of these because I'm like invested in the fact that I might win a prize. So if anything, I just want the money to keep growing so I get more tickets so my odds of winning prizes are better. I don't know. It's like a funny little game that I'm playing with my own head, but I really like it. And I haven't for a second been tempted to withdraw that money. If you're interested in seeing more about these prize link savings accounts, I've left some video links in the description so you can check those out, get the information you need, and make your decision. Anyway, when it comes to stimulus check money or money in general, do what makes sense for you in your situation. Obviously, paying a ton of high interest on credit card debt or other debt is a bad idea because you're making someone else rich. And not having an emergency fund saved is a problem. So pick one or both of those, use this money wisely, and let's move into 2021 more financially secure than we were last year. Remember, it's always wise to invest in profitable companies, in quality time with people that we love, and in the like button. These things compound over time and return the biggest gains, and we should not overlook them, especially the like button. Also, if you're interested in seeing some kind of behind the scenes stuff about making these videos, about my ultramarathon training, or other things like that, follow me on Instagram. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. See you next time. Bye.